Welcome to the Church of Truth and Freedom. We are here to dive into the meaning of life and the concepts and rules and regulations and mindsets, paradigms, the thought patterns and beliefs that will allow you to move forward in an astronomical rate by just knowing what this life thing is all about, giving you the source of truth. The big thing you want to know before anything is that there is only one truth. All religions are actually just languages. All belief systems are just languages in the same way that Spanish or French or English is a language by which we can explain and communicate to one another a specific concept. The same is true to say about any philosophical thought, any belief system, or any religion or any mythology are just languages by which we as humans can use to explain and express the truth. So, how do we come to the core of these belief systems and find what the truth is, what's being expressed beyond the language that it's being expressed through? Is everybody talking about the same thing, calling it something different? Are we all just expressing the need and desire to create peace and love on planet Earth? Now, that is for you to decide. And as you continue to spend time with me, diving deep into the Akashic records, into the cloud, into the mental library that circulates our Earth, we will begin to tap into the consciousness where the God frequency lies, and you'll be able to tap into the divine spirit and awaken the divine voice within you so that you can perceive the truth yourself, right? So, tapping into the divine voice. How do we do that? How do we hear God, infinite intelligence, the universe? How do we hear this voice? How do we begin to receive a response to our prayers, to our meditations? Open up our conscious mind to receive answers from the subconscious. How do we become lucid within the dream? So, the very first aspect of becoming lucid within the dream, of becoming connected to the all that exists with around you. You must purify your heart. You must purify your emotions in your heart space by learning to harmonize with all that's around you. This is the foundation of all that life has already presented to you and all that it will ever present to you in the future. Every challenge that you ever receive is specifically being presented to you for you to upgrade and activate your spiritual capabilities, to expand your awareness in order to use energy and techniques that may be lying dormant within you currently to then purify your heart and open yourself up to being able to connect to the planet, the people, the animals, and God around you, right? So, we are going to start and embark on a journey throughout this entire channel where we will be expressing information that will allow you to tune in and tap in to your spiritual powers and use them specifically to purify your heart and open you up to the experience of oneness and the experience of God, right? So ultimately, the foundation of where we begin when we start off in life is a space of awareness where we come to this awareness that we exist. You know, the I am, right? In the Christian or Judaic cultures, they would call this Eheya, right? When Moses spoke to the burning bush, which was God. God said to Moses, he said, my name is Eheya, right? Which in Hebrew means I am that I am. And that's the truth for all of us. We are that we are. To try to explain you, describe you, define you is to limit you, right? You are ever expansive, always changing, always growing. It's the only constant of life is change, right? The only thing that will always be there is the concept of the fact that you will always be changing. So all you are is who you are. And that's the first aspect by which you begin to come into an awareness of the fact that you're alive, just to acknowledge that you exist, that you are, right? To tap in to the five senses, to begin to smell, taste, feel, to hear, to see. And things that people don't really talk about is our ability to speak. Your ability to create sound is the most divine aspect of you that was with you from the day you were born. Your ability to create sound is what makes you a divine being from birth. When you are talking or creating sounds of any kind with your own vocal cords, what you are doing is tapping into the unseen realm. Nobody can grab a handful of sound, yet it's perceivable by the physical ear. It's this proof that we are tapped into an unseen realm, proof that we are beyond the flesh, proof that most people are not aware of on a conscious level, but is one of the most pivotal experiences that we have from a young age, where we begin to hear ourselves and hear the people around us, and we connect their identity not only to what we see in front of us, but also to the voices that we hear. In all actuality, before you tapped into any of the other senses, you had your ears, you heard, right? You heard the voice of your parents and your family as they came around. Or if your mom was a working mother, maybe they heard the voices of her employees and her coworkers. You get what I'm saying? So we had this concept of sound while we were still in the womb. This concept that there was an unseen aspect to life that impacts everything around us. And so as you begin to tap into the sound frequency around you, realizing past the fact that you are, past the fact that you have all these senses, but the fact that you have the ability to create, even if all you can create is the sound of crying. This is an experience that allows you to realize that you are a creator. And we realize this from the moment that we are born. Now, not only do we realize that we are creators, but we also begin to see that there is an impact by the sound that we are creating. The tears lead to our parents or whatever responsible adult is around doing something in a response to try to calm us, right? We begin to learn that by creating noises, that we can get people to react, to do things, to perform based upon our will, right? So we begin to see from a very young age that there is power to sound. And this unseen power that we have the ability to tap into is our first recognition and awareness of the fact that we are multidimensional beings that are connected to multiple unseen realities. As babies, we may not be aware that there is a mental space that is being formed and formulated inside of our heads. And even as you grow, There are a lot of us who do not fully understand what the experience of having a soul is, right? And so there is a mind, body, soul complex to you, right? You may see yourself as just the body, as just the person with the five senses, but you can create sound. So, where does the sound come from? What are you tapping into? What is that within you, right? Not only do you begin to experience sound, but you also begin to experience dreams, right? From a very early age. The dreams allow you to realize that there is an aspect to you that can move around without the limitations of the physical body. Dreams allow you to see and perceive that you are beyond the physical form. We are already tapping into the soul, right? From the day you were born, you were having a spiritual experience. You have always been on a spiritual journey as long as you were dreaming and as long as you were creating sound, right? Now, you may say that you don't have dreams and you might be mute, right? So, don't get me wrong, some people are going to have to work harder to connect to the reality of the spiritual realm. But for the mass majority of us, there is a spiritual essence to life that is almost natural and second nature to us, and that we kind of hide and preoccupy ourselves from acknowledging so that we don't have to think about what the hell is happening when we lay down to sleep. Where are we going? How is it that we're able to have such vivid and ridiculous dreams like we do? How is it that we have the ability as human beings to create such amazing music and movies and all these different stories that we can create with just sound and language, right? Things that we have been able to use to influence not only the people around us, but all of reality. How many people on this planet have been impacted by something such as Disney, right? Where movies and images and sounds that have been placed in front of your eyes has caused an emotion within you, which has caused an action within you, right? Which has then created a result in your reality. How many people have been impacted by theater, right? How many people have been impacted by the radio, by the sound waves coming in from songs that have told us about all these different forms of propaganda, whether they were telling us to do drugs or have sex, or even if they were telling us good things like praise God, or they were telling us, how to deal with our existential problems, such as how to deal with, identity crises and just exploring life. So many people find solace in music, right? Are you one of those people? Are you one of those people who have been impacted and influenced by sound? And if so, do you acknowledge that there is a power that comes from an unseen source that you're able to channel through your voice and use in order to exert your will on physical reality, right? A spiritual place of origin moves through the mind and informs in the mind as an idea. The idea then turns into words that move through the vocal cords, out the mouth, into the ear of the listener, which creates another thought within them, an emotion within them, an action, and then a result, right? You could tell somebody, right, using really simple terms, you could tell somebody, hey, go turn on the car for me. And just by saying those words, they'll walk outside and go, grab the keys and go unlock the door, open the door, get in the driver's seat, push to start, foot on the brake, to make it vroom, vroom, vroom. They walk away, they lock the door, they bring you the key, and the car is running so that maybe if it's cold near you, if it's winter or something, the car can warm up, or maybe you just want it to be ready. But see, the thing is that just by saying the words, hey, can you go start the car? You've now programmed somebody else's reality. You've now given somebody else a different experience just with your voice, right? With an unseen power. So here we have kind of briefly discussed how we are multidimensional beings, multifaceted, right? Mind, body, spirit. And this is who we are, right? The I am that I am, mind, body, and spirit that is always changing, always evolving, always adapting to the challenges and the environments that I happen to place myself in, right? I am that I am. So that's literally when we talk about the five dimensions of life, that is dimension number one, right? So you're a multidimensional being, and this is a multidimensional experience that you're living within. So the awareness of self is the very first dimension of life, the awareness of your existence. The second dimension is the fact that you are moving through space, right? And as you're moving through space, you begin to see new places, new environments, new people. You begin to see forests and mountains, beaches, oceans. You begin to see multiple other countries, or at least multiple different blocks. You might see different schools, different people performing different roles and occupations, such as teachers, lawyers, doctors. As you continue to move around, you begin to see that this world is big, right? This is literally one of the first things that will really begin to blow your mind as a being on this planet. Not saying right in today's time, but when you were a baby, when the first moment when you seen the outside world, when you stepped outside, like, what is outside? What is that thing glowing ball in the sky? Remember that. Remember the thought of what is that glowing hot ball in the sky that shines so bright, burns my eyes, and even when my eyes are closed, it burns them. you know? So, when we move through space, what we begin to see is the sun, the different stars in the sky. We see clouds in the sky, all different types of experiences. There's animals in this planet. There's so much. It's such an expansive thing. And a lot of us get so occupied with discovering space, right? We realize that we exist, and we feel like that's such a given that we never really tap in to the fullness of what that means, into the know thyself era of spiritual cultivation, where we can begin to build a knowledge of self, tap into the very first dimension, where there's a portion of us that goes beyond time and space, which is actually not necessarily beyond, but more so before time and space, right? There's an aspect of you that remembers when you were born and you didn't know any spaces. And there's a pool that your soul has that's trying to bring you back to that state so that you can remember where you come from, right? And that process only comes from you being still. You must learn to be still so that you can tap into the knowledge of who you are, and not just the knowledge of what does this world have to offer? Because that's part two. First, you really want to tap and dive into as much as possible, who am I? And then get to know your planet. Get to know everything that's around you. It's one of the most important things that you can do. It's the aspect of overcoming the dimension of space, dimension number two, right? And as you keep living, right? You may be on the second week of your life. Maybe you begin to see outside. Maybe you begin to see the car and, all these different aspects that life has to offer. And days keep going by, weeks keep going by, months, years. And you begin to realize how big life is, and you want to explore it as much as possible. And I understand that. But if you keep living and 10 years goes by, 20 years goes by. One day you'll wake up and you'll find yourself in the awareness of the third dimension, which is the dimension of time, right? We are awareness moving through space and time. So you have this ability to move through space and see new places, new faces, new things. But those places and spaces and things and people are always changing because of time. And not only is everything around you always changing due to time, but so are you. You not only mentally shift, right? So your perception of life altogether entirely shifts. And that's very pertinent. It's very prominent in your reality. You immediately realize as you move through life how your perspective is changing. But eventually you'll wake up one day and you'll look at your body and you'll say, "Oh my God, my body is changing. I keep getting bigger. My hair keeps getting longer unless I'm cutting it." you know, and my nails grow longer until I cut them, so many different things. But your taste buds can change, your eyesight can change, your ability to hear can change, your athleticism can change. You can get stronger throughout life, taller, more flexible. So many different things can occur as you change through time. And some things that occur to a lot of people to wake people up to the reality of time and and some of the repercussions that it can offer when you're not treating it properly is things like disease, right? A lot of times people end up in the hospital and they realize, wow, like life is changing. Like it keeps, things keep happening. Or maybe they don't end up in the hospital, but maybe a loved one passes or something drastic happens. A lot of times people are pushed to become aware of the dimension of time by seeing severity take place in their life, right? Even the Roman god that governs time, right, is called Saturn, and it's actually where we get the name for the planet Saturn from, right? And if you were to look at the Roman god Saturn, or as people would call him, Father Time can be seen in mythological form as basically a grim reaper that cuts the wings off of angels, right? And this is just to say that, time kind of like just destroys the pure essence of the heavenly being that you truly are. When you remember who you are, but if you don't take the time to be still and see and remember who you were before time and space, that process, we would call that meditation. There are some processes such as yoga, prayer, tai chi, qigong, different forms of practices that can allow us to tap in and remember. Chanting is probably one of the best ones if you were to tap into the words of power. But definitely, I'd say the absolute best form of creating some type of remembrance inside of yourself is simply to meditate, or at least, if not meditation, to simply talk to other people. Talk to other people who have different, deeper senses of remembrance, right? We're not seeking to learn anything, to know anything. We want to remember everything, right? Otherwise, we will be continuously dragged through time and multiple experiences of life and challenges that are seeking to specifically awaken the spiritual capabilities within us, But without our awareness of the rules of life, of the fact that that's what the challenges are, that these things that are quote unquote perceivable as negative are actually challenges that are trying to make us better. Challenges are the way that God helps us to grow. What does not kill me makes me stronger, right? But you can only allow something to make you stronger if you just work hard enough to make sure that it doesn't kill you, or doesn't get you so close to death that you have to go to the doctor or a therapist or anything like that. So we exist on multiple different levels. So many people are brain dead. So many people are physically, touch death. Even if they don't experience it, they touch it. And it's because of a lack of awareness and a disrespect for the true essence that time is. And so one must become aware that time is not really a real thing. However, change is, cycles are, rhythm is, and karma is. We are continuously moving in a circle, experiencing the same patterns over and over again, but just in a very spaced out manner where we begin something, we connect with different people, we tap into our creativity and express our vision, we work hard at it and create some form of structure to build it up, our idea. We receive rewards and therefore we experience freedom. Within our freedom, we begin to love. Through our love, we begin to lose ourselves. So we have to then return to ourselves and connect to who we are truly as individuals. And as we begin to tap into who we are, we learn about the power that exists and lies within us, and therefore tap into this infinite source of power so that we can begin to manifest and create. And as we're creating, we find ourselves in a place of reflecting and looking back at how long it took for us to tap into our power, right? And this is a cycle. Once that happens, after we're done looking back at the past, we then start over. We start something new. We collaborate with other people. We get creative. We express ourselves. We work hard. We build structure. We seek reward. And then we experience freedom. Our freedom leads to love. Our love makes us lose ourselves. Probably this time, the second time around, maybe love leads to family. And family really causes you to lose yourself. So you really have to dive into yourself again. You dive into yourself, and then you find your power. You manifest, and you say, oh, okay, I got to look back. What have I done? And that's a pattern that you're always moving through in life. You're always experiencing. And at the same exact time, there's seasons that you're always experiencing. Even if you're in the tropics somewhere and all you have is summer, right? You still experience the season of night and the season of day. These are cycles, right? And as you're moving through these cycles of time, you are learning, you are growing, your body is experiencing changes based off of its release of hormones and its firing off of neuron uh, pulses, right? And you are beginning to grow into a new being as you evolve naturally to respond to the challenges that life always is presenting you in the only moment that there is, the present moment, right? The only moment. But life is always receiving and sending more and more challenges. And therefore, you are always adapting and changing. And you're not the only person changing, right? But that's going a little bit ahead of ourselves. If we were to tap into the collective consciousness, we would then be on the fourth dimension. And I think I just want to tap into the first three and let you sit with this information, this realization that you are an awareness moving through space and time. And if you've already come to this awareness, great. But if you've come to this awareness because you experience some form of severity, then I want to give you a huge wake up call, right? You see, so many of us on this planet have to experience some form of severe nature in order to wake up to the reality of time, of the fact that we are always changing, moving through cycles, right? Growing, and that one day we won't exist physically, right? And when we touch death, it makes us realize for the first time in a very real way that we are born just to die, right? If you were to imagine the fact that you are born simply to die, you would begin to realize that that reality is hell. That is a hellish reality in and of itself, right? So the way to escape the first realm of hell that people are just born into, they call it being born into sin, right? The first aspect by which one can escape hell is to simply find purpose in life. If you are living simply just to live with no actual meaning behind why it is that you do what you do, do you go to work literally just to put food on the table? Are you just eating, living to eat and go to sleep and work and do this thing over and over again? Are you trying to leave an impact on the planet? Do you have people that you're serving, people that are depending on you? Are you seeking to explore, find something? What is pushing you? What is driving you? Are you a truth seeker? Are you trying to find out? Are you seeking to remember? Are you here already in remembrance, seeking to impact the world and the people around you? Do you desire to make the world a better place? Or might you possibly have a more negative purpose, more dark side purpose? Are you here to provide more challenges to others, to hopefully awaken the dormant spiritual powers within the population? And if you are, you know, some of us are really up for the challenge. Please make it as difficult as possible, you know? But regardless of if it's negative or positive, there is no real right or wrong in life. We will get to the concept of truth and being in harmony with it, living in harmony with it as a aspect of purifying the heart so that you can really tap into your oneness. However, you can really do whatever you want in this life. And so, you know, I'm not here to tell you what to do and what not to do, but I really want to urge you to find purpose. And no matter what that purpose is, find it and allow it to drive you, allow it to push you, and allow it to provide meaning for your life. As that is the only way to escape the first layer of hell, right? We are not just born to die. We are born on purpose. And so the very first thing that one must do to even access the knowledge of the next level of life is to find out why they are here. You can't do anything on this planet without knowing your why. It's not about what you're trying to do. It's not about how. If all you're focusing on is what you're going to do, then you probably will end up doing whatever the society around you tells you to do, whatever your family tells you to do. You'll probably end up, in today's times, going to college, getting a job, and working for the rest of your life, being a slave or a serf, right? A lot of people don't like to admit it, but the mass majority of people on this planet are serfs, meaning that they work in exchange for food and land, you know? If you are paying rent and you make nowhere near enough money to actually save, and even if you make enough money to save, if you're not actually saving and eventually finding yourself in the investment class where you're capable of investing and getting beyond the I have to work to survive paradigm, right? If you can't invest into something and create some form of passive income, some form of financial freedom to where you can have not only money, but money and time at the exact simultaneous experience, right? Then you are technically a serf. You are living and working in exchange for land and food. And, being a serf or a slave is not really, the paramount of this existence that you're in. This is not why you're here. That's not who you are. That's not your purpose. You're not here to be a slave. So you must wake up and realize your divine right, and you can only tap into that by first acknowledging that life has purpose, life has meaning. What is yours? It's the only way to escape that first realm of hell. And so I want to challenge everybody listening to reach inside and seek to discover their purpose for being on this planet. And as you do, it'll create the space in your mind for us to dive deeper. And until you do that, go ahead and like and subscribe, to this channel. And I pray to see you again next time. We'll dive deeper always. You have the best day of your entire life. Peace.